Now, when you are either a young man or an older man, you're trying to find a woman. You want to find somebody, perhaps to maybe just to be a partner. Maybe you're old enough now. Maybe you had a family. You want to just find a partner. Maybe you are a little older, but you still want to find a partner and have children. You still want to have children before it's too late. Maybe you're a younger man and you have plenty of time to find a woman and get married, have children. There are a couple things that you're going to have to do. First of all, you're going to have to be, and this is absolutely first thing you have to do, is you have to be going free. You have to empower yourself psychologically and spiritually. That is where it's going to begin for you, because you have to be able to control yourself. And you don't control yourself if you're living as a character in someone else's story. That's where you are right now. You are living as a villain in someone else's story. If you remain in that story, the anti-white story, then you will never be able to understand. You will never be able to understand why people say certain things to you, why women react a certain way, why women, of course, they are in the anti-white narrative too, how they might be looking at you, why they look at you the way they do, ways that you will be able to help them see the world for what it really is, to help them take a step out of the anti-white narrative, to follow you to a better place. You have to go free. That's the first thing. You've got to work on yourself psychologically and spiritually. You do not have to be. Do not fall for these lies of elders. Do not fall for the lies of the books, this self-help books and the garbage about you need to have a perfect physique or something of this nature. Just be healthy. You don't have to be in the gym 17 hours a day. Just be healthy. You want to just be healthy. You want to work on, as I say, going free, get outside of the anti-white narrative, become a master of yourself. Because if you're not a master of yourself, you can't control your emotions. You can't control, and that is definitely not what a man does. You want to find a way to be able to be a good provider, a way to be a good husband, and that can take many forms. There are people who, at this point, nobody should believe anymore that if you go to university, you're automatically going to end up with a far higher paying job than somebody who gets into a trade right away. In fact, the opposite is increasingly the case. So you want to find something that you can do to be able to provide. You want to be the man that a woman would want to be married to. You want to be the man that a good woman would want to have as the father of her children. If you become these things, if you make yourself into these things, when you go on what I will call interviews, dates with these people, prospects, prospective partners for life, those who are good are going to be able to see those good things in you. They are going to be able to see that you will make a good husband, you will make a good provider. Now, that doesn't mean that the average girl that you take out on a date is going to end up being the kind of person who's going to see good in a man. I can tell you right now, they are practically blind to it. This is the reality. This is why it's easier to talk to young women about how to go out into the world and how they should handle themselves relative to finding a partner than it is to young men. Because regrettably, for young men, since you don't get to do any of the decision making when it comes to pairing up, unless you want to go to jail as a rapist, you have to accept some very difficult realities of our day. So I'm just going to go ahead and tell you the truth, and then you have to man up and do what is demanded of you to have the victory that you want, which in this case is assumed to be a wife for yourself, a mother for your children, a friend and partner for the rest of your life. The reality is that if you are not in the top 10 to 20% of men with the prettiest faces, your opportunities for women who are on your level of looks, or maybe even a little below your level of looks, are almost zero. Do not believe what these horrible books that are made about hooking up and all of this garbage. These books should be put to paper shredders, and maybe the authors. they certainly should be called out for the monsters they are. These books do nothing more than teach young men how to identify wounded women, vulnerable women. And they're taught to find these vulnerable women, what they look like. And there are certain ways they teach you to do this, insulting them a little bit, all of this sort of just disgusting garbage. And the ones that are vulnerable, the ones that are wounded, whatever it is in their life that is causing them to be in that state now, or to cause them to be in that state for their whole lives, those are the ones that you are taught to prey upon. And that is despicable. Any man behaving of that, any guy behaving of that way is not a man. He definitely is not a man of the West. He is a piece of shit. No one should prey upon any of our sisters. You are garbage. And when we witness any males preying upon our women, I don't care what race they are, if we see it happening, we should intervene because they are filth. No one should be allowed to prey upon our women, our sisters. That is the position we have in Going Free. Throw these books away, get rid of them. Now, if you can't date the women, if you can't get them to go out on dates with you to see that, well, you would make a great husband, you would make a great provider, you would make a great father, you would make a great protector, you would make a great companion for life. If you can't get them to go out on dates with you now, and the ones who are maybe a couple rungs down from you in looks, if you can't get them right now, you've got a couple options. You can either go a couple rungs further down the ladder in looks and look there if you want. If you're fine with that sort of disparity between her looks and your looks, and you're just, it doesn't bother you as much, and you are trying to just find this mate and want to start a family, then by all means do that. Now, once you start doing this, once you start inviting these women out on dates, on interviews, do not have sex. Because if you have sex with them, your desire for sex will interfere with your reasoning capabilities. So you do not want your desire for sex to interfere with the process of determining whether or not this woman is going to make a good partner. Now, why is it so important for a man? The reason why is because she has all the power. There are other reasons. You want someone who's going to make a great mother. You want someone that's you're going to be able to get along with. You don't want to be thinking about the next time that you get to have at her naughty bits, and therefore overlooking the signs that she occasionally becomes rabid, foams at the mouth, and howls at the moon. You want to be able to see that when it happens and say, thank you, but no thank you, have a nice day, and move away as quickly as you can, keeping your eyes on them preferably until you can peel out from the situation. So that's why you don't have sex with them. You want to make sure that you are finding someone who is stable, emotionally stable, as best as a human being can be. We all have our weaknesses, including yours truly. Someone who would make a good mother. What does that mean? Is she good with kids? Does she like kids? Does she like to talk to kids? When she sees little babies, does she think they're cute? Does she want to hold babies? Or is she disgusted by them? If you are the kind of person who wants to have babies and she's disgusted by babies, well, you want to be able to move away from that as quickly as possible. On the other hand, maybe you're not the kind of person who wants children. If she's disgusted by them, well, maybe you found your match, at least in so far as you both don't want children. Here, we're still talking about younger people. Now, you want to find out these things, but as I said a moment ago, the power is all in her hands. Social power and the power of the courts, of the police, all in her hands. So if you end up with a woman who ends up unstable, prone to X, Y, or Z, you can rest assured that you are going to end up, as is almost all relations between men and women in the West. It's become so sickening. I feel so contemptuous of these unions, because in almost every one of these cases, the man is submissive to the woman. And that has to end if we are going to recapture our destiny. You cannot be in a relationship with a woman where you are submissive. You cannot be in a relationship with a woman where you are submissive. And if you're a guy right now saying, well, I'm not submissive, I would never, be submissive. Oh, really? When she decides to come unglued over something and she starts screaming and do you do anything to get the peace? Do you do X, Y, or Z before she sets her eyes on it because you just want to make sure that she doesn't have a conniption? If you have fear in you for how she might respond, you are her bitch. That is why Western civilization in large measure is going down the toilet. Because our guys have stopped being men and they have become bitches to our women. And our women, God love them, are moved by a lot of the emotional arguments that the anti-whites are willing to make. And if the men don't comply, then they incur the wrath. And how many of these jokes do we have to hear? I am disgusted by them, of this happy wife, happy life kind of statements, cliches. You have these platitudinarians in the world, and they can spit out at your basic bitch neighborhood cookout just 20 of these sorts of statements about, well, you better keep the lady happy. No, if things remain in that state, we're not going to be able to recapture our destiny. Males have to be men. And that means that there is, in the current scenario, a duty for our women to not abuse this ring of power that society and the courts have given them. So as a man, you want to make sure that this is a stable person, because if she's not, then in the future, you are going to end up being submissive to her, doing what she wants. When she has some sort of irrational fear about something that's totally illogical, if that's going to be the case in that particular scenario with that particular woman, you will have to obey and act and jump to her irrational, illogical fear, where what should be happening is you should be a man and you should say, no, that is illogical, that is irrational, and I'm not going to subjugate myself to this bizarre whim that you're having at the moment, but instead, I'm going to do the right thing, the manly thing. And if you have a problem with that, then you can go cry into your pillow. But I'm going to do the thing now that the man has to do to protect our civilization and therefore our family and our future. This is what you have to be, men. To be men, this is what you have to be. If you cannot be this way, if you cower at her anger, and I've seen this, oh my God, the number of times. If you cower at her anger, if you cower at some look she gives you, you are her bitch. And you are going to have to be a man if we're going to save this civilization. If you are a young man, look for that type of woman who is as stable, excuse me, as you can find. A woman who would not abuse the power that society and the courts have given her, as best as you can assess. Now, if you are one of the guys, young men out there, who are not willing to go numerous rungs down the ladder relative to yourself in looks, here's the reality. You're shit out of luck. You might get an option here or there, but that sort of, if you get to interview people for a position at work and you only get that you have to hire, you only get maybe one here, one there, or two there that you get to look at. The odds that you're going to come across a compatible person that's not crazy, that's not whatever, that's not going to have a conniption and abuse the power that she is able to access are zero or nearly zero. So you are essentially shit out of luck. And that means that you're going to have to wait until later in life when these women have decided to give up their pursuit of the prettiest faced men in their circles. And remember, their circles have been expanded by dating apps and all of the like. In the past, it used to just be the town. And so their options ran out very quickly. And then it was the city. And now it is even a whole state, even several states. They can, of course, look out across the whole country or internationally for mates now. So you have to wait for these people to give up their pursuit of these men. And when they start to come to their senses about who they could actually wrestle in as a husband, and then you'll have your opportunity. It might be insipid. I understand. You might find that objectionable. I understand. But that is simply reality.